Class 8th. History. The modern period. A tick. The correct answers. 1. Historians have divided history into ______ periods. A3B4C2D5. 2. This century is generally taken as the beginning of the modern period. A16th B17th C18th D19th. 3. They introduced the culture of recording everything. A. British B. Mughals C. Delhi Sultans D. Cholas. 4. Diaries and accounts of pilgrims are examples of A. Official records. B. Survey reports. C. Indigenous records. D. Foreign records. B. Right, true or false. 1. Dates in history are not linked to events. False. 2. Colonization and urbanization are two of the many defining features of the modern period. True. 3. Interpretation differs in history. True. 4. Official records are archaeological sources. False. C. Give short answers for the following questions. 1. What is history? How has the study of history evolved over time? I. The study of changing patterns in society is called history. 2. The study of history has evolved over time. 3. Earlier, it revolved around the life of powerful people. 4. That is, the study of history was more personality-based. Today, however, history revolves around common people, their lives and their ideas. 6. It has, in other words, become a study of how societies and economies change with time. To list the defining features of the modern era. Why do Indian historians not want to call the British rule in India modern period? I. Some of the defining features of the modern era are scientific progress, industrialization, colonization and urbanization. 2. Indian historians do not want to call the British rule in India a modern period because for a very long time the British did not promote any industrialization. 3. They treated India as a colony. 4. They took away raw materials from India and made her an importer of finished British goods. 3. What are the literary sources for the modern period? Write a note on time in history. I. The literary sources available for the study of this period include official, government, records, administrative records, survey maps and reports, and indigenous records. 2. In history, a span of time is more important than a specific date. 3. It is because while dates can be assigned to political events, the same does not hold true for social, economical and cultural events and processes. 4. For example, we cannot pinpoint when did the feeling of nationalism begin to develop among Indians. Similarly, we cannot assign an exact date to the British colonization of India. 6. To put exact dates to historical events would be to defy the very nature of the subject. 4. What is the modern period in India associated with? I. The modern period in India is associated with the establishment of the British colonial rule and the fight that we put up against it. 2. It also includes the numerous socio-cultural changes that came about in India under the influence of the British. D. Give long answer for the following questions. 1. What do you understand by periodization in history? I. History has been divided into periods on the basis of something which has had a deep impact on our lives. 2. When profound changes occur in the way of life of the people, we say that a new historical period has begun. 3. History has been divided into 3 periods: ancient, medieval and modern. 4. These broad divisions mark how the polity, society, economy and culture of one period differed from that of the preceding or the succeeding period. Periodization is, however, valid only for cataloguing political events. 6. Since societies and economies take a long time to change, they often cannot be periodized. 2. Why do interpretations differ in history? Give an example to support your answer. I. Interpretations differ in history as individuals and groups interpret events differently. 2. For example, the events of 1857 to 58 are interpreted differently by British and Indian historians. 3. The former view it as a mutiny by the Sepoys on the issue of the greased cartridges. 4. The masses, they say, were left untouched by the events that unfolded. We, the Indian historians, however, treat it as a popular uprising. 6. According to them, Both the Sepoys and the common people fought post together to end the exploitative British rule. 3. Write short notes on official records and surveys. Official records. I. Though the Mughals introduced the practice of recording everything, it was perfected by the British. 2. Every administrative decision was recorded and carefully preserved. 3. Every executive, legislative and judicial body had record rooms in which even the smallest records were kept, well catalogued. 4. Many of these official records are preserved in the National Archives of India. These official records have helped historians immensely in their study of the period. Surveys. I. The practice of conducting surveys was introduced by the British. 2. Thus, population surveys, revenue surveys, land surveys and many other types of surveys were conducted. 3. Mapping was an important part of these surveys. 4. All these surveys are a valuable source of information for historians studying the modern period. Horse. 4. Why did the British conduct so many surveys in India? I. The British conducted surveys in India in order to understand the country better. 5. Since the British recorded our history, they gave it their version. What according to you would have been that version? I. The British version of history would have been a biased one. G1. Ancient. 2. Medieval. 3. Modern. 4. Medieval. 5. Ancient. 6. Ancient. 7. Ancient. 8. Modern. Class 8th. Geography. Resources. A. Tick the correct answers. 1. Which of the following makes a substance a resource? A. Utility. B. Value addition. C. Technology. D. All of them. 2. Solid is an example of dash resource. A. Actual. B. Biotic. C. Natural. D. Human-made. 3. Which of the following is a biotic resource? A. Minerals. B. Sunlight. C. Grasses. D. Land. 4. What type of resource is present in a waterfall? A. Potential. B. Ubiquitous. C. Actual. D. Biotic. 5. Which of the following is an actual resource? A. Weather. B. Intelligence. C. Environment. D. Windmill. 6. Sunlight is an example of which of these resources? A. Biotic. B. Localized. C. Exhaustible. D. Ubiquitous. 7. Which of the following is a human-made resources? A. Technology. B. River delta. C. Spring water. D. Mineral oil. 8. Which of the following is the most important resource on Earth? A. Trees. B. Human beings. C. Crops. D. Coal. B. Fill in the blanks. 1. The force of falling water is used to generate hydroelectricity. Electricity. 2. Land, water and soil are natural resources. 3. The non-renewable resources are also called exhaustible resources. 4. Human beings use knowledge and skills to develop resources. C. Distinguish between the following. 1. Natural and human-made resources. Natural resources. Human-made resources. I. Resources which are provided to us by nature are natural resources. I. Resources which are converted into useful products are known as human-made resources. 2. Land, air, water, soils, minerals are examples of natural resources. 2. Buildings, roads, machinery and vehicles are examples of human-made resources. 2. Biotic and abiotic resources. Biotic resources. Abiotic resources. I. Resources that we get from living things such as plants and animals are biotic resources. I. Resources that we get from physical or non-living environment are abiotic resources. 2. They have the capacity to reproduce under favorable environmental conditions. 2. They do not have the capacity to reproduce as their process of formation is very slow. 3. Forest, agricultural crops, grasses, wild and domestic animals, birds, fishes and reptiles are examples of biotic resources. 3. Land, water, air, minerals and power resources are examples of abiotic resources. 3. Potential and developed resources. Potential resources. Developed resources. I. Resources whose availability in terms of its total quantity is not known at present are potential resources. I. Resources whose total available quantity and quality are at present known are developed resources. 2. These resources need detailed survey for the estimation of their quantity and quality. 2. Surveys have already been conducted to find out their total available reserve. 4. Ubiquitous and localized resources. Ubiquitous resources. Localized resources. I. Ubiquitous resources are those resources that are found everywhere. I. Localized resources are those resources that are found at certain places. 2. Air and sunlight are examples of ubiquitous resources. 2. Gold and silver are examples of localized resources. D. Give short answers for the following questions. 1. How is resource different from gifts of nature? I. The things that are provided to humans by nature in the form of rocks, soils, minerals, natural vegetation and animals are called gifts of nature. 2. They help humans to fulfill their daily needs. 3. On the other hand, the gifts of nature which have utility and help human beings to satisfy their needs are called resources. 4. Usually the gifts of nature are converted into resources by value addition. This is possible by processing the gifts of nature into finished products with the help of suitable technology. 2. What are the factors that determine the utility of any natural resource? I. The utility of any natural resource is determined by the following factors. The form in which it occurs. The place where it occurs. The efforts needed to process it. The cost of processing it. 3. Human beings are an important resource. Justify this statement. I. Human beings are an important resource because they are capable of making the best use of natural resources through their knowledge, skills and technology. 2. They use their knowledge and skills to develop technology in order to discover, exploit, develop and convert the available or potential resources into useful products or wealth. 4. Define conservation of resources and sustainable development. Conservation of resources. Careful utilization of natural resources without their wastage is called conservation of resources. Sustainable development. The proper use of natural resources to meet the present need and also to conserve them for the future generations is known as sustainable development. Give long answers for the following questions. 1. With the help of examples, explain how the gifts of nature can become resources with the passage of time. I. With the passage of time, humans developed various techniques to convert the gifts of nature into useful articles to satisfy their needs. 2. For example, waterfall is a gift of nature. 3. It has force, which can be used to drive a water wheel. 3. When humans developed a technique to harness this force of falling water to generate hydroelectricity, the waterfall became a valuable resource. 4. Similarly, the mineral deposits in USA were mere gifts of nature. They were not valuable to the natives, as they did not know their use. 6. However, when the Europeans migrated to USA, they explored and developed these mineral deposits and they became valuable resources. 7. This is how gifts of nature become valuable with the passage of time. To classify resources with example. The resources are classified into 3 types: natural, human-made and human resources. Other natural resources include natural endowments such as land, air, water, soil, minerals, natural vegetation and fossil fuels. Natural resources can be further classified on the basis of origin, development, renewability and distribution. Times. On the basis of origin, resources are of 2 types: biotic and abiotic resources. Biotic resources include resources available from living things such as plants and animals like forests, agricultural crops, and wild and domestic animals. 2. Abiotic resources include resources which are available from physical or non-living environment such as land, water, air, minerals and power resources. On the basis of development, Resources are of two types, namely potential and actual or developed resources. I. Potential resources include those resources which are not developed at present but has the potential for future development. The potential for the generation of hydroelectricity in Africa in the future is an example of such resource. 2. Actual or developed resources include those resources which are developed from potential resources. For example, windmills developed to harness the wind energy. Times on the basis of renewability, resources are of two types, namely renewable and non-renewable resources. I. Renewable resources include plants, animals and water which can be renewed by physical, mechanical or chemical processes. 2. Non-renewable resources include those resources which once exhausted cannot be replaced, such as minerals and fossil fuels. Times on the basis of distribution, natural resources are classified into ubiquitous and localized resources. I. Ubiquitous resources are those resources which are found everywhere, such as air and sunlight. 2. Localized resources are found at certain places and include gold and silver. B. The human-made resources are made by human beings and include buildings, roads, machinery and vehicles. C. The human resources include human beings. 3. Distinguish between renewable and non-renewable resources. Renewable resources. Non-renewable resources. I. Renewable resources can be renewed by reproduction and by physical, mechanical or chemical processes. I. Non-renewable resources are available in fixed quantity and cannot be renewed. 2. Renewable resources are also called inexhaustible resources. 2. Non-renewable resources are also called exhaustible resources. 3. Their quantity is not affected by human activities. 3. Their quantity is affected by human activities. 4. Solar and wind energy are examples of renewable resources. 4. Minerals and fossil fuels are examples of non-renewable resources. 4. Why is the conservation of resources essential? I. Our future as well as the future of our planet is dependent upon our ability to maintain and preserve the life support system which nature has provided. 2. Therefore, it is essential to conserve resources so that the resources are either not exhausted or their quality deteriorated in the near future due to their irrational and overutilization by different human activities. 3. The conservation of resources also aim to maintain a balance between population growth and utilization of resources. Horts. 5. Can a gift of nature become a resource in the future? How? I. A gift of nature can become a resource in the future if human needs force the human beings to develop a suitable technology to convert the gift of nature into useful resources. 6. Why do you think the use of resources should be sustainable? I. The use of resources should be sustainable so that the resources do not get exhausted in the near future, and that the future generations can also use them to meet their needs. Eighth. Class 8th. Civics. The Constitution and the need for laws. Tick. The correct answers. 1. The rules and principles essential for efficient and proper governance of a country are mentioned in the A. Parliament. B. Constitution. C. Preamble. D. Constituent Assembly. 2. The system of checks and balances in our Constitution prevents the misuse of power by the A. People. B. Government. C. President. D. Courts. 3. According to the 2011 Census of India, the sex ratio has dashed between 2001 and 2011. A. Decreased. B. Increased. C. Remained the same. D. Increased and then decreased. 4. Which of these taxes was defeated by Gandhiji? A. Wheat tax. B. Sugar tax. C. Spice tax. D. Salt tax. 5. The anti-liquor movement was led by the women of which state? A. Tamil Nadu, B. Karnataka, C. Andhra Pradesh, D. Uttar Pradesh. B. Fill in the blanks. 1. Our government formulates laws according to the principles given in the Constitution. 2. Our Constitution came into effect on 26 January 1950. 3. The Dundee March was a protest against the salt tax. 4. The anti-liquor movement was led by the women of Andhra Pradesh. C. Give short answers for the following questions. 1. What is a constitution? Why do we need to have a constitution? I. A constitution lays down the fundamental principles by which a country is to be governed. 2. A constitution, being the foundation of the structure of the government, is needed to govern a country efficiently. 3. It lays down many rules which serve as the guidelines according to which a country should be governed. 2. Why are laws essential? I. Laws are essential to ensure the welfare and the security of the people. 2. They help to bring about changes in the social setup and establish a society based on equality. 3. Why was the Dowry Prohibition Act passes? What do you know about it? I. The Dowry Prohibition Act was passed to curb the practice of dowry. 2. The Dowry Prohibition Act was implemented in 1961. 3. It prohibits the practice of giving money or gifts to the groom and his family by the bride's family as a condition of marriage. 4. Anyone found disobeying this law and still following the practice of giving and taking dowry can be fined as well as imprisoned. 4. What is difference between rule and rule of law? I. A rule is an established principle, a standard or a guide for action. 2. The rules and principles are laid down in the Constitution and are essential for efficient and proper governance of a country. 3. On the other hand, rule of law means that everyone is equal before law and no one is above the law. 4. Thus, this principle regulates the power of the government and stresses on equality before the law. D. Give long answers for the following questions. 1. List 4 reasons why our Constitution is important. I. Our Constitution is important because of the following reasons. It contains valuable information regarding the organs, structure, responsibilities and duties of the government. It regulates the relationship between the various organs and also between the government and the citizens. It has a system of checks and balances which prevents the misuse of power by the government. It guarantees certain fundamental rights to the citizens to protect them against any injustice by the government. It guarantees certain rights to the minorities in order to protect them against the oppression by the majority. 2. What is female feticide? Discuss the efforts made by the government to curb female feticide. I. The practice of killing an unborn female child is called female feticide. 2. To curb the practice of female feticide, the government has passed the Prenatal Diagnostic Techniques, Regulation and Prevention of Misuse Act, PNDT Act, in 1994 and brought it into effect from 1 January 1996. 3. According to this act, the determination and disclosure of the sex of the fetus is against the law. 4. Also, no advertisement of prenatal sex determination can be done. Anyone violating the PNDT Act can be fined and imprisoned. 3. With the help of an example explain that people can oppose unjust laws. I. Laws are formulated for the welfare of the people. 2. But in many cases it is evident that a law may not have been formulated for the welfare of the people. 2. In such cases people protest against unjust laws. 3. In history we find many instances where people defeat unjust laws for the larger good of the country. 4. One such example was the Salt Satyagraha of 1930. When the British imposed salt tax, making and selling of salt became a British monopoly. 6. To protest against salt tax Gandhiji launched Salt Satyagraha. 7. As a mark of protest Gandhiji and his followers marched from Sabarmati Ashram at Ahmedabad to Dundee. 8. On reaching Dundee, Gandhiji made salt. 9. This signified a challenge to the authority of the British government. 4. In the post-independence era, anti-liquor movement is another example of protest against unjust laws. Liquor being an important source of revenue for the government, there was an increase in the number of liquor shops in Andhra Pradesh. 6. This problem was further aggravated when the licensed liquor shops opened unauthorized counters to increase their sale. 7. As a result, people had easy access to liquor and many poor people wasted their money on liquor. 8. This led the women of Andhra Pradesh to launch the anti-liquor movement. 9. After much protest, the government banned the liquor shops. Accept any one of these or any other relevant response. Hots. 4. Why do you think there was no constitution in early times? I. There was no constitution in early times because there was a monarchy system of governance. 5. India's sex ratio has declined between 2001 and 2011. What do you think happened in these 10 years? I. Daughters being considered as financial burden by many people. 2. Thus, female feticide was on the rise. 3. This practice affected India's sex ratio. 4. The 2011 census showed a decline in the number of females in the age group of 0 to 6 as compared to the 2001 census. According to the 2011 census, there are 919 females per 1,000 males in the age group of 0 to 6 as against 927 females per 1,000 males recorded in 2001.